To learn how to use the functions, let's apply the sum function to a set of sample data here. So let's say we have a few numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would be good enough. And anywhere we want, we can place our equation. So let's just place it in this particular cell at B7. Remember, with an equation, we always start with the equal sign, and then the name of the function itself. So because we want to add the values, our function is going to be sum. And you see a list of equations or functions that show up underneath of that. After the name of the function, sum, we do a left parenthesis, and then we can click and drag across the values that we're going to work with, and then finish with a right parenthesis, and then enter, and that gives us the total value. So if you add it up individually, the values 1 through 6, it would equal 21. If we click on this 21, we'll see the function show up in the function bar up here. That's equals sum, and then the range of scores that you're actually taking from A1 to A6. Which means if we change any of these values from A1 to A6, we'll get a new sum. So let's say if we convert this 1 into something much larger, like a 100, we'll wind up with a 120 as an average. The equation is the same, but it'll add together all of the values that are in here. So if we change this 4 into a 1000, we get a 1116. Now the sum function does not have to be used in a column or a row. It could be used in any manner you want. So let's say as a separate example, we have a series of numbers that are kind of spread across the Excel file itself. We select any cell we want to place the equation. Doesn't matter. We're going to again add them together. So equals sum, left parentheses, and now we're going to choose each of these values, and we're going to click on them and then control click for each of the remaining values. So we hold down control and click on the remaining values, and then finish with a right parenthesis, hit enter, and of course our answer is 10, the sum of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice that when we click on the equation, we have 4 entirely separate cells that are being used for the sum: D1, E1, F2, and G3. And so if we changed any one of these values, let's say the 3 into the value 1000, an entirely new sum, which would be 1007. 1000 here, and a 1, 2, and a 4, equaling 7. Now that's the manner in which the sum function works. And a slightly more practical value that you'll be using in the gradebook, you're going to use the average function. So let's suppose you have 4 test grades: an 85, a 75, a 92, and a 58. And you want to find out the average of those 4 scores. What you would do is use the average function, and is equal average, left parentheses, and then click and drag over the 4 values you have, finish with a right parentheses, and hit enter. And there's the average that you have, a 77.5. So if you look up here in the function bar, it shows equals average and then the range of cells that you're working with. Column I from cell 1 to 4. And let's suppose you're in a position where your teacher tells you that you can retake an exam for your lowest grade. So the 58 is your lowest grade. If you study hard, maybe you can get that into a 100. And if that occurs, you know that your average for the class will go from a 77.5 to an 88. And that would be the best you could actually hope for in that case. If you got a 90, for example, then you could raise your grade to an 85.5. But what you're really saying is that you don't have to do very much. Having already created this function, you can just change the values in the cell, and then the mean function will change automatically. These are the processes that you're going to be using to create your own gradebook. To get started making a gradebook, one of the very first things you have to do is check your syllabus to see what particular assignments you're going to have for this semester. Every semester may be a little bit different, but if you look under exams and grading under your syllabus, you'll be able to find all the various things you're going to be graded upon. In this particular case, there are going to be 3 exams, later on a final exam, in-class participation, homework projects, and quizzes. Be sure to check your syllabus because in your semester things may be different. To get started with, we have 4 exams in this particular example. So all we need to do is set up a column for exams. So we can take any cell we'd like. This is fine here. And we can label them 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, we can even label the 4th one as final exam. The word final exam kind of runs over the border here, so we can bring our cursor up, get the double arrow, click and drag across so to make sure that it fits. And we can also click and drag down entirely and go to home and make it all centered. Now, for whatever scores you get for these various exams, and we'll stick in some fake data here for you. Right underneath, we would apply our average function. So the function to get the mean of the 4 exam scores would be equals average, left parentheses, click and drag across the 4 values, close with a right parentheses and hit enter, and there's the value. We can also make all this centered as well if you want to pretty it up. And if you want to double check the number of decimal places, you can come up here and change the number of decimal places by increasing or decreasing the number of scores you have. After exams, there are 13 online quizzes over the course of the semester. So we can set up a second section, label it quizzes. The first quiz would be the syllabus quiz, so we can label it that way, and then there are quizzes for each of the following chapters, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. We could put all those in, and that would be it. And then right here we can place our mean for the 13 quizzes. So again, to calculate the mean, use the average function. Equals average, left parentheses. You don't have to have values in there. We can click and drag over all the appropriate cells, close it with a right parentheses, and hit enter. You see this odd answer here, division by 0. That's a division by 0 answer because there are no scores here. So if we applied values in this case, like this, for example, and we even can take this just to fill in the spaces, click on the one side, see the small box in the right hand corner, we can click and drag that down, and that'll just give us a whole bunch of 89s. And then we can center it all. Okay, we can even bold the name. In fact, we can come back here and do that as well. And certainly in this case, that's a lot of decimal places. Maybe we don't want to see that many, so we can reduce it down to 2 decimal places or 1 decimal place, whatever you want. Participation is calculated automatically in the iClicker system. So to keep track of your grades, you simply have to place the mean of participation you get through your Reef app. So in this particular case, all we would do is list our participation score, and of course the word participation goes over the cells, so we can drag it over like that and put whatever value you have next to it. So let's say you have a 95%, 95.2 for participation, and then click and drag on these, and that would be fine. And then we can bold that particular one by using Control B. Finally, there are homework assignments, and the homework assignments may be different. The number of them may be different in your semester. I'm going to work from an assumption that there's going to be 7, so we can put those numbers down, and then we can put in some scores for them. So we'll give you a 92, an 85, a 73, a 100, a 100, a 99, and a 52. And then right underneath, we can calculate the average for the homework scores. Click and drag, close with the right parentheses, hit enter, and then we can take that value, change the number of decimal places that it shows, and then we can take the entire bit, select it, and center it. Bold the word homework by using Control B, and then that would take care of it.
The final thing you have to calculate is your final grade. How to calculate your final grade for any semester is always determined by the syllabus. To evaluate the syllabus, you need to go to the location in your syllabus where your grading structure is set up, which is usually under Exams and Grading, the place with your letter grade assignments. This page of the syllabus will show you what proportion of each part of your grade has to be weighted. So for example, in this particular hypothetical semester, exams are going to be worth 60% of your grade. Your exams, quizzes, homework, and participation will all be worth different amounts. You must check your syllabus for your semester to know exactly how to weight your grades. To begin weighting your final semester grade, set up a location for the final grade. And then you're going to use the sum function, not the average function. The average function averages things together. Because you're going to take a proportion of each individual grading component, such as exams, quizzes, participation, and homework, you're going to add each of those proportions together. To do this, we start with the sum function. Set it up with the left parentheses and then select the mean of your exam grades. We've already checked the syllabus and it said that we're going to use a 60% weight for exam grades. So we multiply the average exam grade times 0.6. And then we close with the right parentheses, and then we place a plus sign to add the proportion for the next score we're going to work with, which will be quizzes. Set up the left parentheses, click on the average of the quiz grades. Quiz grades in this hypothetical semester will be worth 15% of your grade. So we multiply the average of the quiz grades times 0.15. Close with the right parentheses. Then we place a plus because we're going to move on to the participation grade. Left parentheses, participation grade which comes from the engagement system. In this hypothetical semester, participation will be worth 10% of your grade, so we multiply by 0.1. Close the parentheses, and then the final score that has to be added in is the value for homework. So we follow on with a plus, a left parentheses, the average of homework grades, and in this case, our hypothetical semester will calculate homework grades worth 15%. So we multiply that average times 0.15. Close the parentheses and hit enter, and then we have our final weighted grade. Make sure that you produce a score with 3 decimal places. Remember to use the decimal function up here, and then you'll be finished.